This is the worst year in aviation history. 14 days ago, if you walk on an airplane like this, you wouldn't imagine the whole plane is empty. But this is the reality. Today I'm doing a very serious video talking about the impact of coronavirus on the aviation industry as a whole. First thing I'd like to talk about is the travel ban currently in place imposed by the many government to stop free flowing and people traveling. The US President Donald Trump has recently came out to restrict people from Europe Schengen area to the US for 30 days. This now also include UK, Ireland as well. So lots of countries currently require citizens or travelers to be quarantined if you come from a high-risk area. We have seen also a lot of airports fully closed. This is an unprecedented measure to fight the coronavirus. IATA recently mentioned the whole airline industry could lose up to $113 billion due to the virus.
I think that the IATA number, as daunting as it was a few weeks ago, could potentially increase in the size of losses to airlines if we start to see governments impose further travel restrictions or worse, mandate their airlines to stop flying. So if the virus continues into the summer, or worse, if the virus doesn't subside, if airlines are being told don't fly, if countries are saying don't travel, the risk of bankruptcy continues and it increases with time.
A tray and Trayliner from China Airlines.
Oh,
so many of these are going unused.
This is my friend Anthony from the Desert Graveyard. How does the coronavirus hit the airline industry? What's your take on this?
Yeah, so I think just about every day at every airline around the world, they're experiencing what I would call net negative bookings. Essentially, more cancellations are coming in every day than new bookings coming in. And so at every airline's headquarters, the network planners and revenue management organizations are really grappling with three things. How much capacity do they have to reduce? Do they actually have to park fleets? And how much flight schedule they're actually going to put on in the industry? So Sam, if you think about the industry, especially in Europe, with so many low-cost carriers there who rely on revenue streams as part of their ability to stay afloat, I think that we're going to see more casualties in Europe now before any other part of the world.
We saw the first airline with this casualty out of the coronavirus. It's actually Flybe. It's not unexpected because Flybe was already in trouble in January. The UK government and Virgin Atlantic tried to bail them out, but they decided not to use the taxpayers' money on some airline who will run big losses. But we do expect to see more, right? Because Italy's the lockdown.
Yeah, you think about Italy's situation. I mean, Alitalia, as a traditional carrier in the home country, actually hasn't done well, even when revenues were good across the continent. And so imagine now how Alitalia is going to fare.
Any airline that owns by a government, they have a better chance to survive.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Any airlines that owned by government, they are likely to receive cash injection.
Sam, I feel so sorry for Norwegian. They've started off with their new services going on in Argentina. Then they had run into the MAX problem. Now they've run into the coronavirus problem. They've let, what, 50–60% of their people that work for them go already? How can they hold on?
Yeah, they just grounded 14 Dreamliner because they expanded the long-haul transatlantic market so quickly.
And we've heard today that England is now over flying to the United States. So where do they fly to? With
the Norwegian problem is, they were really restructuring hard and hoping this summer is the traditional strong revenue month to bring them afloat and alive. But now, for this summer, we just don't see that happening, that strong travel booking trend.
We'll know in the next few weeks in regards to if they're going to make it or not.
I think the airline who have their airplanes on lease, they're going to have a harder time than the companies, the airline who owns their own airplanes.
Right, that's a very valid point.
Yeah, and because they can restructure the loans versus the leases and all that, it's going to be really challenging for all these airlines.
Yeah, well, shifting from Europe, there's a lot of airline also going to hit hard in Asia, has already been hit hard. Like you got Korean Air, you got Hainan Air on the verge of collapse, which Hainan Air was lucky because the government in China, the Hainan province government, bailed them out. They haven't even paid the staff for a couple months. They were running behind, and they cut out every flight because they had the coronavirus in China. Korean Air chairman sent out a very strong message. about a company's unlikely to survive, you will think typically this is also another national carrier. They will cruise over, but they parked 100 out of 145 airplanes on the ground right now. All the A380s, Korean Air has been grounded. You know, LAX was their strongest station. Now they downgraded 777 and then down to one a day.
The future of the U.S. airlines will greatly depend on whether or not the U.S. government provides any kind of financial assistance to them. The U.S. airlines have asked for relief from the federal excise tax and a rebate on that. That is the tax people pay on the tickets they purchase. They have asked for government loan guarantees and no or low interest loans, and they are asking for cash grants. So this is the going in state, of course, and it's all subject to negotiations with the White House. If the government will provide some cash to the airlines, the no or low interest loans and loan guarantees, I think that will be sufficient to help most of these airlines. In fact, I think really all of the airlines stave off bankruptcy and continue operating.
There are 3 airlines that definitely will be working non-stop again, which is Qatar Airways, Etihad, and Emirates Airlines.
So you think the Middle Eastern are able to survive?
Definitely they will be able to survive. You know, they can just start immediately right after, you know, this virus situation is over.
I actually doubt, because Emirates has 130 some A380 in their fleet. When the economy is good, A380 is making lots of money, kills off all the competition. But when the thing is, time is bad, you might be running 20-30% of capacity. Emirates has been so quiet, you just don't know how badly they got hurt right now. They are asking Airbus to defer the rest of the A380 beyond 2021, so we might see they're slowing down building the last 8 A380 from the manufacturer. Now, talking about manufacturer, Boeing and Airbus has been hit so hard. The stock price, I can tell you, Boeing, I've been watching, has fallen from 300 to 150, halved in a week. No new orders, and also Boeing has the extra pressure on the 737 MAX. Gonna solve the MAX, and also they have a backlog of 300 planes they produced and parked. They're gonna resolve that and getting the confidence of travel public back on the MAX first. Now they're gonna deal with the coronavirus, because people are saying now coronavirus could hit Boeing harder than actually the MAX problem. That is insane. Imagine the magnitude of that.
Amazing.
You know, thanks to Saudi Arabia, the overflow with the oil pricing, the output, and all of a sudden right now there is so much surplus all over the world.
From an airline perspective, like, the fuel cost is going to be quite attractive for the course of the next few months. Most airlines today built their business models around $100 a barrel, and you think about what's happening today at roughly, you know, $26 to $32 a barrel. It makes the economics of flying lots of different aircraft types pretty rational, and so you'll probably see the profit of the airline once the flu is over return pretty quickly, because fuel price is so low.
There are really two schools of thought on the low oil price. Some people think low oil price can induce the older airplanes to stay longer in the fleet.
It's true.
So the MD-80s, the you know, the 757,
Right.
you know, can stay longer, and that's a good thing for us, like AFGEEK, right?
We always want to fly in a Queen.
Oh yeah,
We
you want to
always
fly
wanna
the
fly in a
KLM
Queen.
Queen, right? We have heard rumors now, or maybe it's already a fact
It
that
is a fact that KLM within the next 7 to 10 days will be putting their 747s to bed and saying goodbye to them.
now that's sad, man. We're gonna
Very sad.
see them in Mojave in the airplane graveyard,
Yeah.
the KLM 74.
I think when the KLM 747 they're going to be landing in Mojave, the first person who's going to go up there is Anthony.
Of
And he's going to
course.
steal all their
All those
Trayliners.
Trayliners.
Trayliners. Virgin Atlantic as well. The A340-600 is done already, and that's brought ahead of a couple months from the summer to now. Just a lot of old airplanes are, you know, out of the door because there's excess of fleet of supply right now. John Decker, I know you for years. You are the corporate travel agent.
I am the air guru, Sam. I've fallen off a cliff. It is a disaster as far as sales are concerned in airline tickets. It is an absolute disaster. It's been going on now for about a month. Probably should go on for another 6 weeks, and then I expect us to climb out of it.
How much sales you made, or how much cancellation you have?
I've currently had to take about $125,000 out of my pocket personally and return it to
Whoa.
individuals. And as far as sales are concerned, I made $70.39 this week on commissions from airplane tickets.
You have never seen something like this in your life.
Never in my life. 9/11 would be bad for us here in the United States. This is much worse because it covers the entire globe.
This week's been really tough. I have a lot of friends been calling the airline for a couple hours on hold because they couldn't get hold of the airline because the flight's been canceled. They need to talk to someone to get refund. Is there any good advice you can give to these people?
The best advice I could give them is continue to try to go down the ways you've purchased your plane tickets. But if you come to the end of the line and there's no way that you can get a hold of somebody, you can always go back to your credit card company and explain to them that you're not able to reach out to the person you purchased the ticket from, and your credit card company then should credit that back to your credit card.
Oh, that's the trick.
That's the trick.
Captain Talat, you are the owner of Pan Am Experience and you're in the movie industry, Air Hollywood. So how have you been fared so far?
To be honest with you, this is like the worst experience in our lifetime as far as the company is concerned. We literally had to shut down. Every production that we have, including the Disney, Netflix, Paramount, Sony, all the next 2 months, usually we are booked 2-3 months in advance. Now we have zero. Nothing is booked. All productions are shut down. But we only open for one person, and that's Sam. And that's why we opened the studio just for you.
That's why when you have friends at high places, you can have the whole airplane to film, and this is filmed on Air Hollywood's premises.
So it's really hard.
Talat, did you see? Look, I just got this new tray and tray liner from KLM.
Oh wow!
Pretty exciting.
Look at that!
Look at the logo on there.
My God, Anthony.
Sam, before you leave the plane, all of you need to wash your hand. And don't shake the people's hand. You should learn just like the Japanese, bow.
No more touching.
No more touching.
No more touching.
Aren't we too close now?
We 6 feet. How far are you?
No, we're like 2 feet.
Oh. You know, Sam, I gotta say though that we are resilient, and we're all gonna want to travel. It's not gonna stop. This is just a break.
The flu will end. People will stop getting it, and everything will go back to normal. So it's a short-lived pain, and we're all just gonna have to weather this storm, but this one will be over soon.
Absolutely. I think that humans are resilient, and the aviation industry has weathered through so many storms, and there's always a strong comeback. So I'm fairly positive we will ride through the storm together. I think we're out for landing.
I'll fasten my
Hello,
seatbelt.
yes, let's down. Tray tables up.